Hey everybody, time for more Thoughts from Tumor Town with me, your old buddy Bruce. Today I'm going to talk about a trip that we took my family, my mother and my brother and me, to Europe in 1974. My mother's divorce was very fresh, and she had a little bit of money in her pocket from the divorce, not much. And she just decided, to hell with it. I'm going to go to take the boys on a trip because I want to and I don't care. And it turned out that one of their friends that she grew up with down in Sebring, named Joy, was working with the U.S. military, and she was in Germany. I can't remember exactly which town right now, but I think it was Bitburg, maybe, in Germany, and she was relocating to London. So she needed to move, and she had a decent window of time to do it in. So the idea was that my brother Kent, me, and my mom would fly over to Bitburg, hook up with Joy. She would put all her stuff, in a big, moving van, whatever, to move to London. And then we would all pile into her little Mercedes, and we would just go rampaging across Europe for 30 days. And that's exactly what we did. And of course, this is before you had, the European Union. So, I mean, you could be, bringing out your passport and changing borders 6 times in a day. I mean, it was that way because, every time, I mean, you're going through, boom, 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 here you go. So, that was always fun, kind of, to see how many you could cross in one day, depending on the path you took. So we had no plan, no set agenda. We just got in the car and took off and figured, okay, we're going to end up in London. So, by the time we get there, we want to go through as much of Europe as we can. And then we'd like to be able to drive up into Scotland and back down through Wales to London for the end. So we realized, or I realized, I guess I should say, early on that Germany was hosting the World Cup that year, and it was just starting when we got there. And so, wow, the World Cup. So I was very much into soccer thanks to the program Soccer Made in Germany that was on my local PBS station. So everybody, took very kindly to me and made sure that, for the most part, we were able to make stops in places where I could go into a pub and watch a game on television, while everybody did a little shopping or did whatever they wanted to do. And that was really cool. So I got to see almost all of the games of the 74 World Cup. And that was the World Cup that had some of the greatest players of all time. Johan Cruyff and the Clockwork Dutch Machine. I mean, they were just awesome. I mean, watching them play was just incredible. And of course, you had their Kaiser, with the German team, with all their guys, and I mean, they were a force to be reckoned with without any question. I mean, they were a national power. Now, the only thing at this point, of course, was the Dutch team had already won the Euro, I think, twice in a row or 3 times in a row. So they were the favorites. But you had a Polish team who was really fun to watch too. They were really fast on the flanks. I mean, they could burn you quick, and they were playing really, really well. So we're going through. Brazil was in it, all this sort of stuff. So I'm just, enjoying the heck out of it, and we're going through, all parts of little Germany. You're seeing the Black Forest, if that's what you call it. I can't remember. These big, beautiful forests, kind of like the redwood forest out in California. And then you'd go to these wonderful river areas and waterfalls and these lovely little towns. And we would stay in these nice little bed and breakfasts, that were just so quaint and charming. And you'd go sit downstairs in the living room and watch a soccer game, with everybody else who was staying there. It was just wonderful, and the Lady Joy was a pistol. She was crazy as a loon, but a lot. Her and my mother had a lot of fun. My mother and I had a lot of fun. My brother, he was older. He was kind of out trying to do his thing. Hook up with girls, do whatever. I really at that point wasn't really even trying for that. I was into soccer, and I could legally drink there. So, going in and getting a pint of, draft Guinness. Oh, that was heaven for me. That was just wonderful. So we go through this, and we go through all of Europe. We go into Scotland. We stay in this beautiful big castle in Wales. I'm in my bedroom. The ceiling had to be 24 feet. It was incredible. It was just these awesome, awesome places. And we ended up in London for the last, 4 or 5 days of the trip, I guess, and with a couple that we knew from Orlando. The parents and the family lived in Orlando, so we knew them. And the daughter had gone back to try to work in theater and television in London, and she'd gotten married to an actor who actually ended up becoming relatively successful. He got a nice second banana role on a very popular sitcom, so he did very well for himself. And we sat in their apartment and watched the final of the World Cup. Now, a couple things I will say about the World Cup. I came away from that very mad at the Germans for a couple reasons. First off was when they were going to play I think it was a semifinal against Poland. It was a downpour, and the pitch was just this puddle. It was just a huge lake, and the Polish said, hey, can we postpone until tomorrow? And the Germans, being the host nation, had the ability to say, well, yeah, okay, we'll do that, or no. And of course the Germans said no, because they knew that terrible, terrible pitch negated the speed the Polish had. So it took their weapon of power away from them. And I thought that was kind of bad pool, bad sportsmanship. They should have said, yeah, let's wait a day and play them fair and square straight up. They didn't. And of course, the final, that was just a heartbreak, They ended up winning. Germany ended up winning, 2-1. And it just was a crush. The poor Dutch, they were trying, they were banging at that door so hard for so long. And the Germans just played beautiful lock-up defense, and it wasn't to be for the Dutch. So that was a little disappointing. But at any rate, that was my first exposure to Europe and Britain. And I fell in love with the city of London. Thought it was just a wonderful, wonderful town. And I looked forward and would, in the future, go back on many, many occasions. And that was just a wonderful trip. And I hope it, did for my mother what she wanted it to do for her, because we certainly enjoyed the heck out of it. So I recommend such a trip to everybody. Just go, get a car, no plan, and just have at it. All right. Well, I'll see what little story I can come up with next. Thanks. Peace and hang 10.